Welcome to the October 24th, 2024 Town of Eastchester Planning Board meeting. So I'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, we're going to start with a roll call. I'm Phil Nemisek. I am the acting chairman today in place of James Bonanno, who could not be here today. And I'm also advised that Joseph Rubino could not be here today. Lauren Goodridge.
Present.
Michael Fortuno.
Present.
All right. And just so I make clear that because it's a three-person board today, in order to move forward, in order to resolve anything, we have to be unanimous. And if that changes any of the applicants' approaches, so be it, okay? So the first order of business, I'm going to make a motion to approve the minutes of the September 26, 2024 Planning Board meeting, subject to, I believe it was one minor revision that I circulated a couple of days ago.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We have a fairly long list of applications that are pending before this board that have been adjourned and will not be heard today. They all have been adjourned to the board's December 5th, 2024 meeting. We don't have, believe it or not, we don't have a meeting on Thanksgiving Day. I know that's going to break a lot of hearts. But these are the five applications that have been adjourned. It's application 23-15, which is Sal's Market and Pizzeria. The second is application 23-02, which is 203 Beach Street, 104 and 108 Highland Avenue subdivision. The third application is application 24-01, 42 Maple Avenue subdivision. The fourth application is application 23-27, 360 White Plains Road. And the fifth and final application that's been adjourned to the December 5th, 2024 meeting is application 24-25, 34 Water Street, 1 and 3 Rogliano Way subdivision. So, with that said, we will move on to the three applications which will be heard by this board today. The first of them is 23-30, application 23-30, 249 Main Street and 27 New Street. That will be followed by application 23-32, 600 White Plains Road, and finally application 24-24, 27 Summit Street subdivision. So, first up, application 23-30, 249 Main Street and 27 New Street.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, or Acting Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is David Smith. I'm principal with Planning and Development Advisors. Here on behalf of 249 Main Street, Eastchester Manor Developers LLC, represented by Angelo Agavino, for the 249 Main Street, 27 New Street application. I'm also joined by Brian Dempsey, who is our traffic engineer, Antonio Frida, who was our project architect, and Michael Mastrogiacomo, who was our project engineer. So to start, just a quick recap. So the last time we were before your board was in the June meeting. And at that time, we were going through the application process, the review of the project. One of the products that your board had asked for was a kind of a visual demonstration of the project set within its environment, and we've prepared that. We've included that as part of your package, and we actually have this set up where we could show it on the screen at some point. But just a quick recap, this project was initially approved back in June of 2020, and this is just to provide the public with an understanding of how this project has progressed. And the initial approval was for 15 units in a 4-story building. Since that time, Mr. Agavino has purchased 27 New Street, and the revised plan now includes a 6-story building with 25 units. 15 of those are 1-bedroom, 10 are 2 bedrooms, with 36 parking spaces, and both covered in surface configurations. We made an initial submission back to the town back in actually October of 2023. In January, we appeared before the zoning board because we do need a number of variances, including building height and parking spaces. And the planning board initiated the State Environmental Quality Review Process, SEQR. And in February of 2024, you declared yourself lead agency. So you are coordinating the environmental review for this proposed action, even though we do need to get approvals from other boards within the village.
Yeah, and your January 2024 appearance before the Zoning Board of Appeals was informational only, right? Effectively.
Yes, we'll say they had asked for some additional information. We made an initial presentation. They asked for additional information, yes.
Got it.
Again, the last meeting that we were here before you was in June. So with the submission that you have before you, we've prepared a response letter from DTS Provident related to traffic. We've revised the civil engineering plans along with a response letter. We've provided a response letter from Freda Design Architect with updated site plans and the video that I just talked about. I guess, for lack of a better word, your town planner or planning director, Noel Wolfson, in a correspondence asked us to summarize the proposed plan revisions. So I'll just quickly go through those. The slopes on the entry aprons have been revised to have slopes of 5% or less. Notes have been added to the plan drawings indicating the plan for protecting adjacent properties, including Waverly Engine Company Number 1. Such protection would include the use of special inspector to monitor the protection of the adjacent buildings during construction. As you know, the fire station is directly adjacent to this property, and so there were some concerns with respect to how ongoing site construction may affect that property. Updated signage and circulation plan was provided for delivery trucks. Grading plans were updated with 1 foot with spot grade elevations added. We've updated the testing data and stormwater computations, provided a new photometric plan, a new landscape plan, and we've revised the traffic circulation plan, and dimensions have been added to the neighboring driveway. Since then, we have received a review memo from KSCJ, which is your engineering consultant. There are a number of comments there which we have addressed, and I think there's still some that need to be addressed or can be addressed as part of a later part of the process. And lastly, we know that we need to have an environmental determination from your board before we go back to the Zoning Board of Appeals. So that would be one of the requests that you consider, if not tonight, then at least in the near future, to begin to conclude the environmental review process so that we can continue with the application. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll ask our technical, it's not connecting? It's always finicky. It's not connecting?
It's on the website. We can talk about it. I'll explain.
Yeah, I've looked at the video on the website, and
Oh, hold on, wait, that's my screensaver.
okay. And your weekend hangout, I think.
Well,
Crazy, because the screensaver's not up on the screen here, the video's on.
yeah, I don't,
Thinking that it's a separate monitor on the sign, you have to drag it over onto that screen.
Duplicate the screens.
okay, hold on.
Printed from.
Get out of the video and open it back up.
That's what I printed from.
Thank you. Just wait, really. Just so I can get my bearings.
What I really need is a teenager here who understands all the technical
Lucarelli's, okay, gotcha.
aesthetics.
Sorry. Should have known.
It's okay, while you figure it out.
Go ahead.
I saw it.
While I'm trying to get this up and running, Angelo, if you have a couple comments you wanted to...
How you doing? Good evening, guys. My name is Angelo Agavino. I'm the owner and hopefully the developer of this project. We're trying to work with this video. In the video, I found the company to pull in some like Google Earth designs and Google Earth images, and then we pulled in our 3D design and tried to mimic what a drone would look like flying around the area if this building was to be built. I don't know if I'm sure you guys saw the video and everything. The building right to the right of the firehouse is a tremendous building. And, you know, this building is still a big building, but it's not as big as that building. And I think there's, within 2 blocks, there's also other buildings that are fairly large. And you can see all the commercial across the street, buildings that are there. So hopefully this video kind of showed that this would fit into the neighborhood a bit. I think that this building would be beneficial to the area and, you know, bring in new families and more money to the town of Eastchester and so on and so forth. Oh, perfect.
Here we go.
So the building to the right, the building to the left is the building, 249 Main Street that I'm proposing. That building directly to the right of that is the firehouse, and the ambulance corps, and then there's I think it's a 60 or 70 apartment building that's to the right of that.
Okay, so I'm going to hit play. You tell me what it was.
Okay, go ahead. You can see there's a large building in the back there, also to the left. Residential buildings. And all these buildings towards the front here are all commercial, CVS, and that there.
Value drugs.
I apologize, Value Drugs.
And that's 9 New Street, I believe? That building?
Yes.
Yep. Mhm.
And then that's New Street that you're seeing right there to the right there. That's Value Drugs in the front there, that white building. This is coming up to the firehouse and to the back of the building. It's hard to pull in the company, you know, couldn't pull in all the exact siding and everything, but we have the 3D designs that you could see. You know, I just wanted them to kind of get the look of the neighborhood.
I think this does a good job of fulfilling our request. You know, I know that the chairman, Mr. Bonanno, likes balloons. And they do, it is valuable to see that, but I think this gives a
Yeah, it was
a
either
slightly
this or that,
different
and I
perspective.
figured
Yeah.
this would be better. You could really see the neighborhood, it's, you know, fairly
Yeah,
commercialized.
the other thing, it captures it, you know, such that you can look at it on the website.
So, I mean, just for a reference, the building within 6 inches of each other, standing on the street line from the sidewalk, looking up at the building that I'm proposing, and also the building that I've been referencing right to the right of the firehouse, is within 6 inches of each other. I think, based off of, without being on the roof and having a surveyor exactly from the street, he said within 6 inches. He thinks that that building is 6 inches higher, but it could be 6 inches less. So within reason, they're about the same height, within a few inches. The building that's below there, it's like a block and a half away, is it's 7.5 stories, so it's a bit bigger, but you can't see because it's on the
Yeah, that's Jackson. That's
yeah,
the,
it's on the bottom hill, but it's the same zone as this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I know we have submissions that have been made since you appeared before us at the end of June. They largely addressed the concerns that were raised, and then more recently, I think we've received comments from the consultants, from Phil Greeley at Collier's Engineering and Design, and from Coward Sessions, Mr. Cimelli. Maybe it's appropriate now to hear from those consultants,
Absolutely.
unless there's anything more that you needed to add.
Just if you guys have any questions,
Okay.
you want me to go with that and anything else.
Yeah, okay, let's hear from the consultants. I think let's do the traffic first. Sure. Yeah.
Just introduce myself, Rich
Yeah,
Van
you have to just go to the microphone for
Yeah.
the video, yeah.
Yeah, just to introduce myself, Rich D'Andrea from College Engineering, filling in for Phil tonight. So really, our last comment letter had 3 comments in it, mostly just kind of site plan related. The first one was relative, just a couple of clarifications on the truck turning for the emergency vehicles, but really what we were looking for is to make sure that the fire department is good with what we were showing on the plan. It seems like that has been addressed at this point for the most part.
Yes, as the only outstanding remaining comment, and I don't know if you know this information for tonight, is the height of the wires on Main Street. They just wanted to make sure the apparatus could go under it, or if not, what the plan is to have the apparatus leave if it's not by Main Street.
Okay. That sounds like a solvable problem.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't want to lose track of it, so that's
Yes,
why I mentioned
correct.
it.
The second item was relative to the need for a county permit, because Main Street's a county road, so when they make a submission to the county, we just want to make sure that the planning board is copied on that for your information. And the last thing was on the 27 New Street parcel, the way that's situated right now, the driveway for that is kind of a joint driveway with the 29 New Street parcel. So what we don't see on the plan is that driveway for the neighboring adjacent parcel there. And with the changes that they're making, we just want to see a dimension to make sure that whatever they're, we assume that the driveways are on their own properties, but just to make sure that we're not prohibiting something that's been there for a while, that they're still going to have access to their parcel. So we just want to see a dimension maybe from their proposed curb line to the building to make sure that we're not impacting the neighboring adjacent property owner at all. So those were
Remind me again, the parking situation here, I know Dr. Greeley did the work on this, but so if you're not in a position to comment on it, that's fine. But tell me what the parking situation is. Is there a requirement here? I don't recall for variances given the parking. I know that by procuring the property on New Street, the applicant was able to provide significantly more parking than was originally envisioned when the applicant first came before us with a different project back in 2020. But what is the state of the parking on this application right now?
I don't have those details in front of me at the moment, but maybe Brian
Yeah.
can discuss.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, it's 25 units, and there's 36 parking spaces being provided, so there is a variance, and that's one of the things we have to go to the zoning board for.
Got it.
We had some documentation to support the number in our studies, but that'll all be provided to the zoning.
Okay, got it. What is the, and I know the numbers vary quite a bit,
43 is the,
would be the requirement, so it's, okay.
so 7.
43 and we're giving 36.
Okay, got it. All right. I think those, any other members of the board have any questions regarding, or any questions for our traffic consultant? All right, I think that's all we have. Thank you.
I just want to make sure, just to let you guys know, we put the dimension on the neighbor's property. It works out great. The guy has access. I think he'll come up and speak to it, because I'm not sure if he got the updated plan. I think there was some loss in that. And then there was,
Well, certainly the county stuff, I think that
the county stuff.
logistically, that was something you're planning on doing
We'll put together
next.
the plan,
Yeah,
and then we'll
Okay.
file with the county.
good. Thank you. Mr. Chimelli.
Good evening, Joe Tramelli, KSCJ Consulting. I'm sure you've read through the memo. As we've stated prior in the applicant.
I needed a bit of time to read through the many
Well,
pages of the memo.
A lot of it is.
Yes, a lot of it has been
A
satisfied.
lot of construction details and
Correct.
coordination, so while it looks lengthy, I think a lot of them are easily addressed. And as you know, and it's been stated before, the applicant acknowledges, we do mention the need, as was just stated, approvals from not only the County Department of Public Works, but also County Health Department and Veolia Water. And those are typically conditions of an approval if the board chooses. And those are also noted in here. We still do need the sewer capacity analysis. With regard to I&I, the inflow and infiltration, we did meet with your highway superintendent, and he did confirm that there are no known issues or any concerns with the sanitary sewer system that this property would be tributary to. So I think with that regard, we've kind of closed the loop on that. And as long as we get the capacity analysis to demonstrate that the existing main can serve the project, which I anticipate it would, we could also kind of close the loop on that. I think the only real kind of technical design issue we still need to work through, and there will be a solution for it, is regards to the stormwater design. We just have some questions and things we want to maybe meet with the applicant and their consultants and just understand and work through some of the points in our memo and make sure that we have a working system, not only for the town, but obviously for the owner and the developer of the property. And then, Brian, did you mention, or I'm sorry, Dave, did you mention that the driveway grades comply at this point? No. Or no? Okay. No. Okay. So okay. So right. So then.
We got it last time, so it's the same variance.
Okay. All right. So I misheard then. So then, we just noted the two additional, or I guess one additional area variance for the driveway grades.
Going to I think you discussed the soil percolation data. I think it's in
Right.
item 14.
Yep.
And I read it as a concern, certainly a concern. But what I'm hearing from you is that there is a solution to this.
I think
It's
so.
just-
I do. And it's just
Even in a
matter of-
worst-case scenario, because we don't have all the data here.
Exactly.
That there would be a solution to
Right.
to
The
address
soils
this.
that are there are appropriate for infiltration. It's just a matter of, I think, playing with the elevations a little bit and maybe tweaking the design of the system a little. But there will be something that will work there, that I'm sure of.
Okay. Any other comments, any other concerns that?
Oh,
need
like
to
I
be-
said, a lot of the memo, I know, looks like a lot, but it's kind of the history of the
Yes.
reviews and whatnot. But it's just really a lot of coordination, and then fine-tuning the design on the stormwater at this
Okay.
point.
Good, thank you. All right. Does the applicant have any comments on Mr. Tramelli's presentation?
No, it's, you know, we spoke before the meeting, and I wanted to make sure we're on the same page, but I think we're gonna set up one more meeting and just kinda, you know, it's just fine tuning little grades of where we're gonna put the Coltex.
Got it. Okay. Well, I think we're at the public hearing.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, we
So-
did get an email from a member of the public, if you've had a chance to see it.
Yes, it was, it's posted on the website, and the subject matter, I think perhaps this may give away the writer's viewpoint. The subject is Main Street monstrosity, and it comments, it's from Brittany Dura, who is well, she doesn't indicate where what her address is. I would,
I believe she's a New Street resident.
yeah, I think she's a New Street resident. We may have heard from her before. I don't know if she's here today. Doesn't look it. And she makes comments that she believes the construction is completely disproportionate to the area. But it's not unlike what we had heard some months ago. Not at the June meeting, but probably back in April, I want to say.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So having noted Ms. Dura's email, I believe the public hearing is still open on this, so I want to invite any members of the public who want to comment on application 23-30, 249 Main Street and 27 New Street to address this board. All right. Not seeing anyone, not having any response to that. Let's move forward.
Sure.
I think at the moment we leave the hearing open.
Yeah, we should leave the hearing open, and I think at this point, we do have a lot of information before us, and it is appropriate for you to start thinking about how you might want to resolve the seeker process. This is an unlisted action. The applicant, with their initial submission, filed a short environmental assessment form, and since that time, we've gotten a lot of plans, reviews, comments from the fire department, comments from the school district. We've had a meeting with the applicant, and you know, I have just copies of the part 2 of the EAF, which is the part your board prepares. And if you just want to go through some of the questions, we can talk about some of the areas that you are to analyze and see if you feel like you're satisfied that things have been addressed, or if you think more needs to be done on those topics.
Okay.
So I have them here if Michael, if you want to just pass them down. And I'm going to work from the bottom up, if you don't mind.
Yes, that's fine.
Start with, you know, one area of analysis is, will the proposed action create hazards to environmental resources or human health? And, you know, I would propose, based on the information that we have, that is a no or small impact item. You know, this is a residential facility. There's no, you know, significant threat to
Correct.
environmental resources.
I agree with that.
The next is, working up again, will the proposed action result in an increase for the potential of erosion, flooding, and drainage problems? And I think what we've just heard from Mr. Cimelli is that those can be resolved to be
Yes.
compliant with our requirements.
Correct.
Okay, so that also would go in the
Yeah.
no or small impact line. Will the proposed action result in any adverse change to natural resources, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna? This is, you know, a pretty disturbed
Yeah.
site at present.
Yes, no, I think the answer to that is a definitive no.
Sure. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources?
Well, here there is a concern with the firehouse, the historic nature of the firehouse. And, you know, I think certainly the proposed application is not going to directly impact that firehouse. It will certainly affect the view of the firehouse. But I think measures can probably be taken such that the firehouse itself is not damaged during any of the construction phase. So I think the answer would be no, or small impact may occur, in my view. I don't know if anyone has any different
concur.
view. Okay.
Okay, the next working up is, will the proposed action impair existing public-private water supplies and public-private wastewater facilities? And we will, need assurances that the applicant can connect, but all signs indicate that sufficient capacity and service is available to serve this building.
Yeah, my recollection on this was that this actually has a favorable,
Yes, sure.
as unfavorable as the electrical was, the sanitary sewer was equally as favorable on the other end of the spectrum. So I think the answer to that is no on both subsection A and subsection B.
Okay. The next is, will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? I mean, it will increase energy usage, but not beyond, what might be expected for a residential development. It doesn't appear that it will have outsized energy usage compared to other similar buildings.
I think that's fair. I don't know that the town is, at this point, pushing applicants towards, LEED certification or something of that nature. So it would be, I think, unfair to ask this client, this applicant to do so. But certainly, I should think that by using the latest construction procedures and materials, that it doesn't seem to me that there's anything disproportionate here with respect to the usage of energy and resources and energy conservation.
Okay.
So I would say no or small impact.
Okay.
Yep.
The next is, will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing levels of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walking? And we have had an extensive review. Colliers has performed a couple of iterations of reviews. I think that I heard that pretty much everything except for a few details has been resolved. Unless you have any questions, or are there any other portions of the traffic reports or the proposals that you'd like to review?
Yeah, my only remaining concern here is really not so much with Main Street, not so much with the parking, which would be addressed by the Zoning Board of Appeals in any event because of the need for a variance. Although I think parking, as with virtually every commercial or semi-commercial application here in the town of Eastchester, parking always seems to be at a premium. But that's, to me, more a question for the Zoning Board of Appeals. I do have a concern about I know it hasn't been emphasized by the traffic experts, but we have heard anecdotally, and I have independently heard anecdotally, about New Street being already a very difficult thoroughfare, and adding 30 some odd cars to it, would certainly not be a positive result here. But I'm not sure that where to place that New Street traffic. It's certainly not a large impact, and because in my view the traffic experts, I need to rely on them more than my own personal or anecdotal view. I suspect that there would be an impact, but that impact is probably not sufficient in and of itself to stop this project. That's my own view. Anyone else on the board have a view on that?
I tend to agree with all of your statements regarding the parking. Yes, there are studies and there's quantitative projections that we can go with, but anecdotally speaking, a lot of the residents and the feedback that has been received kind of have reservations toward that. So I'd be remiss not to at least acknowledge it as we move forward. But certainly, I agree with your statement that I don't think that alone is enough to completely put it at a standstill, but certainly something to continue considering as we move forward.
Yeah, I do worry that, for example, I know we've had a lot of questions in the process about deliveries, and Lord knows why, but people in this town want to have everything delivered to them now. I mean, the food delivered all the time. You know, we have the Amazon Prime vans all over the place. You know, UPS, U.S. Mail, you name it. And I think there were definitely concerns expressed that a lot of the traffic might be coming through New Street, which again is a very tight and residential street that already has significant traffic. It feeds out into Waverly School, the street on which Waverly School is located. So again, that is a concern, a serious concern. But again, I can't, based on the information that I have to date, and with no members of the public here tonight, at least to provide any further color on this. I don't feel I'm in a position to determine that would have a moderate to large impact.
I can only speak personally and anecdotally as well, but I've been here for 10 years. I've noticed without giving specifics, times of days and things like that, that I can't deny that traffic has increased exponentially, especially on main roads, especially with deliveries, especially with moped traffic and bikes and things like that. So I fail to see how 25 more units, they're not private houses, is not going to lend to more traffic. Is it enough to stop the building? That's not for me to say, but we do trust the reports and that we read. But this is just me as a resident, anecdotally. That's undeniable, and I know people that have been in the neighborhood for a long time that have concurred with that. So I'm just speaking personally, and having children in the schools where I'm going to Waverly and Greenvale in rush hour times, and again, but to agree with you, it's just something that needs to be said. Whether or not it impedes building it is not my call.
I think unquestionably, you build a building, the building that's proposed here with 25 units, you're going to increase traffic, undeniable. But again, we rely. I know I rely very heavily on our outside consultants to advise us on that, and I do admittedly sometimes have a healthy degree of skepticism, because it seems that nearly nothing can reach the point of actually being unacceptable from a traffic consultant standpoint, because I guess if you're only measuring any one application, that one application is a few more drops, but it's the whole of the building that goes on over a period of time that leads to what is an undeniable increase in traffic throughout the community. And I do believe that the motorized bikes that are delivering Uber Eats are a scourge on our community, but maybe we'll talk about that some other time. They also don't help with traffic, because they're just, in my view, they're darting in and out.
Phil, can I just add to that, to your point though about looking at one project? Because, for example, we have, which we spoke about at another meeting, like the Lord and Taylor project that's going on. So looking at that one project versus with this project, with other projects, like when you put them all together, it's going to increase traffic flow on an already busy main street. Yeah,
but that also is in my view, an issue for the town and maybe the town board to review, and in perhaps coming up with a town plan. But we are charged with reviewing individual applications.
Sure.
So that's so. again, having expressed perhaps with a healthy dose of personal opinion, my concerns regarding traffic, and I thank the other two members of the board for their contributions as well. I think the answer here is that I cannot conclude, particularly based on what the consultants have told us, that there would be a moderate to large impact to the existing level of traffic or infrastructure caused by this application. So I would answer that no or small impact.
Okay. The next one is,
You both agree, right?
I would just, one more question. What is the threshold for no impact versus moderate impact?
Well, there's no or small impact,
Right.
Nick, or moderate to large. That's left, I believe, at this point, in the eye of the beholder. There probably is a legal standard in case law.
yeah, there are standards in secret to help you evaluate. What we have from our consultants, is an evaluation of that impact, particularly how they'll contribute to traffic. It's a little bit, less standardized with regard to the sequence of delivery vehicles. I don't know if you want to go back through how those will move through the site, if you feel like you have enough information
No,
on that.
I think we have enough. I think we have enough. But
Sure, it would be great.
yeah, okay, that's good. Because let me just, as I see it, if any one of us answers no to this,
Well, at this point,
At
I
this
think,
point?
yeah, at this
Yeah.
point, I don't know that we are making any kind of determination. We're just evaluating and having a discussion
Okay,
about where
fair.
we might end up.
Okay,
And
so
this structure is
this isn't
helping
a
us
vote.
have that conversation.
Yes, this isn't a vote,
yes.
this is a conversation.
Right,
Got
yeah.
it, thank you.
So the
Next.
one thing I was going to comment on was a question about small versus moderate versus large. So the one thing that the seeker guidance does provide, and it's the same kind of standard for DOT, is that when a project is generating less than 100 trips in any one peak hour at an intersection, it's generally considered that it's not going to have a significant impact. Now, that's at an intersection, right? And that can change depending on how overloaded that intersection might be already or something like that. But in general, that's kind of the guidance that we use. That's kind of in the seeker guidelines. The other thing that that I was just going to comment on is there's obviously going to be more traffic here. You're going to have 25 apartments or something like that, right? So there's going to be additional cars that are going to come from that. The way the site's set up with access to both Main Street and to New Street, you are going to distribute that a little bit more. So you're not going to have this confluence of all 30 vehicles or whatever the number might be at one location at one time, right? So with respect to New Street, there's going to be some more vehicles on there, but it's not all the traffic necessarily going to be on New Street. And then the last thing that I heard was about deliveries and things like that. Obviously, there will be deliveries to the site, and I think they've planned out the site the best they can for those deliveries, and there's some signage for that on the site, and that can be discussed more if we need to. But primarily those delivery vehicles are in the area already, right? So like your Amazon Prime truck is likely coming down New Street on a daily basis as it is. So that truck is going to come down New Street or down Main Street and come into the site, exit the site, and go on its typical route on a daily basis. So those kinds of things, while there is traffic generated by the site, it's not necessarily considered in our opinion, wouldn't be considered to the point of a significant or moderate or large impact. So.
Okay.
Just to add to your comments, just from my perception, and granted, you have an area of expertise more in this than I do, but I think from the residential perspective, it's not so much that threshold. Let's use the example you gave, the 100 trips at an intersection. Granted, that's a specific for intersections, not necessarily a site, but that is a quantitative threshold, whereas the residents might perceive like the delta, the change. So even though that change might still be underneath that threshold, I think from their perception, it's
absolutely
still an exacerbation of that
traffic.
traffic.
I was just responding to like that one specific question about small to moderate to large.
But that threshold, it's 100 trips in an hour?
Correct. So it's
That-
a fairly
that's-
high. It's a fairly
That
high
sounds like
threshold.
an obscenely high
I agree-
number
and
for
I understand.
yeah.
I understand where you're coming from. I'm just
Yeah. Mhm.
that's like
Okay.
kind of the threshold
Yes.
that is
Yeah.
sometimes utilized. There still is reason, like you said. I think the residents have. They're going to see a delta in trips, like you said. But that's inevitable with any development. So.
Correct.
Yes.
Point acknowledged. I just think that's the discrepancy that at least we feel from, looking at it from a data perspective versus an anecdotal perspective, just to, like I said.
When you
kinda
did this
hit home.
study, how many trips were there at that intersection, like at a peak time?
My information's over there. I don't know if you have it. 24 total trips in the peak hour, I assume? Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Okay. And for the record, that, if you can just, why don't you just, yeah, state that on the record. Yeah.
Yeah, Brian Dempsey. It was 20. The peak hour of the site would be 24 trips total, in and out, and that's dispersed between. You have two driveways on Main Street and then one driveway on New Street, so it's dispersed amongst all that.
Great. Thank you. Just want to make sure the reporter who's transcribing this gets everything right. Okay? All right. So I think we can move on from the traffic. I think we've exhausted that.
The next is whether it will have an impact on a critical environmental area, and there is no critical environmental area in this, in this location that we need to be concerned about. So the next one from there is, will the proposed action impair the quality or the character or quality of the existing community? And in this item is where we are evaluating visual impacts and impacts that this development might have on the future development of the neighborhood and of the character of the surrounding community. So this is where that visual impact analysis will become relevant.
Yep. And I do have a fairly strong opinion on this, and it's not going to be one you're going to like. I'm not a fan. I know the biggest argument you have in your favor is that 9 New Street is the same height. Visually, your demonstration confirmed that there is a building right there, and there is a building down on Jackson, which is built into the hill a little further down, which has a much lower visual impact than this would have. I've lived in this town virtually my entire life. I moved here when I was a year old in 1966, and New Street was there, and the Oak Ridge apartments were there, or were there within a matter of years. I don't remember them not being there. Those were buildings, large buildings that were built. I don't know what the zoning laws were at the time. I don't know. If they would be permitted to be built today. I think they wouldn't be able to be built as of right, for sure. I was a member of the board when we approved the initial application for 4 stories, which is as of right, and I believe you did have some other variances that you needed, particularly relating to parking at the time, that all went through. To me, that 4-story building was pushing it in terms of the size that would not reach that threshold of having a negative impact on the existing community. This is 50% larger in terms of the number of floors. It's 67% larger in terms of the number of units. We're going from 15 to 25. I do recognize that you did purchase the additional property on New Street, which helps lessen the impact, but it also creates another another problem insofar as New Street is comprised principally of single-family residential that we, again, there isn't anyone here today to speak about it, but we did back in April hear from quite a number of people of residents of New Street talking about how this would negatively impact their day-to-day lives. In my view, this is just, I don't want to set a precedent of building 6-story apartment complexes in, even if they're on the smaller side as this one would be, in the town of Eastchester. The approval that we gave, I think we've given 2 approvals in my almost 15-year tenure here to larger scale apartment buildings, and both of those, one of them being on Jackson, was age-restricted housing that was deemed a need of Westchester County, and was, I think, rather ingeniously built into a hill where the visual impact was severely muted through use of retaining walls, and a lot of the building was even subterranean, and it has if you look at it from Cornell's, from True Value, you barely notice anything more than it looks like a 2-story building. It may be larger than that. The other one that we approved was also built into a hill, and that's 5 Ray, I believe. And that one was, with a lot of, I think that may be a 5-story.
5,
Yeah,
yes.
and a lot of that is really just garage because of the way that it's built into the hill. And that received quite a bit of resistance from the community, but, and even lawsuits, I understand, afterwards. But that is something that we approved. And again, it was, that also was in an area where there was no immediate one-family households, and it was not on a flat surface like this. In my view, and I only speak for myself, this proposed 6-story building is just, it would negatively impact the community. It's just a little bit too big in my view. Do the other members of the board have an opinion on this that they wish to share?
Yeah, I joined the board without any sort of experience like Joe or Lauren has, but more so as a resident who wants to preserve the character and quality of the community. So this is the only point on this sheet where I could speak to with some subjectiveness, so to speak. I am going to have to take the expert advice for whether or not we're eroding or causing flood or damage or traffic issues. But personally speaking, this is the time in my life where I'm living here, and I'm opposed to the look of it. It understandably fits with the size of the other buildings and everything like that, but at this point in time, my goal would be to halt this sort of development in suburban towns. It's all we have left in Westchester, or single-family residences. I like that. That's why I moved here. I'm scared of giving the okay to create more of these, taking away the character of the neighborhood. There's not many small towns, not many suburbs to go to anymore. I left the Bronx. I left the city because I don't like that development. I don't like the way White Plains looks. It's 30 families moving into a matter of 1 square block. It does have an impact on the quality and the character of the community. It's a nice-looking building, nicer looking than the ones surrounding it. It doesn't change my viewpoint on what it represents in the town. And that's only speaking, again, personally and subjectively on line item 3, because on the other ones, if all the boxes are checked and they're meeting environmental standards and traffic standards, then it's anecdotal, like we were saying, like we perceive the traffic to be picking up, or we perceive the building to be taller than other buildings, whether it is or it isn't. It's purely personal, and yeah, if I was around at the time that those other buildings were coming up, I would have had the same sentiment at those times. So personally, it's not the look of the building, it's not bringing business in and anything like that I'm against or developing, and it's nothing personal to Mr. Agavino or anyone else. It's just my personal sentiments, and why I joined the board was to represent people that have the same feelings I do and speak up, and that's all.
And just to be clear, I mean, we all have personal views, but as a board member and a representative of the, of the people of Eastchester, in this position, it is my view that the proposed development here would impair the character and quality of this neighborhood, and might set also a precedent for the next person who wants to build a 6-story apartment building that might be of a bigger nature. And granted, we take each application on its own, but I do not want to set a precedent that will be thrown back in my face about approving something that is, as I said, 50% bigger than the as of right. So that's why, in my view, we don't even send this to the Zoning Board of Appeals. I think I would propose that we adopt a positive declaration of a positive declaration concerning the environmental impact. What do you say?
I'll keep my remarks pretty brief, just because I kind of reiterate the sentiments that my colleagues have made. From a professional standpoint, I'll say I like to see facts. I like to see the studies. I'll back it up. If I put on my professional hat, then I would be all about this. However, I do think that as board members, we have to do our due diligence to the residents' sentiments. We can walk around and see on paper that everything checks every box, but someone walking to Value Drugs, someone walking their dog, someone going to Cornell's, those are the individuals that are going to see the massing of the building. And regardless of what the paper says, their subjective personal opinion, that's what we kind of are here to represent. So I do have some reservations. Again, I'm not kind of on one side or the other just yet. I do think that we have other items to take into consideration, get further details on, but like I said, I do have reservations about it, particularly in the town of Eastchester. Not necessarily that this were in a different area. It would not be, without a doubt, perfect, but we do have some things to consider, so that's all I have.
Okay. Do we want to go over the other two?
Sure. So the next is whether so for that one, it sounds to me like you are leaning in the moderate to large, not leaning, you are in the moderate to large impact bucket for the precedential reasons, because it exceeds the as of right permitted heights, because of the distinct single-family nature of a portion of this neighborhood. Okay, so the next question is whether the proposed action results in a change in the use or intensity of the land use.
The intensity, well, not really sure how to answer this one.
Right,
Yeah,
I mean, it is having more units than what
Yes.
is existing.
Yeah, by a lot, 25 to 1.
And based on
but,
your comments on the prior, it seems that these two should be read together because
Yes.
of,
Yes.
the height in, exceeding the zoning limitations of height, contributing to the density. And question 1 is, will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations? On this, if I, multifamily buildings are permitted use in this district, so introducing a multifamily building to this property is not contrary to the comprehensive plan.
It would, of course,
yeah.
be subject to the Zoning Board
Sure.
of Appeals because it would require a significant variance.
Yeah, there are several variances
Yeah.
that are needed,
But
so.
the biggest one being I
Right.
think the height.
And the number and, significance of the area variances is something that you are to consider in evaluating this impact. So I don't know where you fall, where you feel like you fall on that.
I think while you are not charged with the zoning variance decisions, I think and correct me if I'm
Yeah, no,
wrong,
go ahead.
for this particular point, I think the number of variances requested and perhaps the amount of the variances, I think
degree,
it's
yeah.
relevant with respect to that particular point, even though you're not ruling on them specifically.
Yeah, so I'd be comfortable saying it was a moderate impact, which would put it in the right-hand column.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about? Do you have any questions? If not, then maybe I think we should give the applicant a chance to respond to the discussion that we've been having.
Yes, I don't have any further. I think we've talked a lot right now.
Is there
If the
anything you'd like to address?
I appreciate everything, and, I did these studies because I wanted to prove to you guys that I think it fit in a bit. I mean, I understand that the buildings were built a while ago. I mean, I have pictures of the building that's below. I mean, if you're standing in the street, it's a tremendous 7-story building, but, I understand it's, there's only houses on this side and it's on a cliff. I mean,
Yeah, no, look, and you've done, I think, a wonderful job. I mean, it's unfortunate that the initial application proved unworkable due to the electrical issue, as I understand it. For what it's worth, I have from time to time spoken with the chairman about this, and I think his concerns are effectively the ones voiced by the members of the board today. So it wasn't just a question of maybe we should have waited but this, it's a concern, that we all have as residents of the town of Eastchester and as appointed officials, members of this board. I think we all have pretty immediate concerns about the direction of the town, and while, certainly this type of housing is, as I think all the members of the board said, this is a very nice project you put together here. It wasn't an easy call. It's not an easy call for this board, because we do like to encourage development that addresses, that, believe me, there's housing shortages. We hear about it all the time, and this is a very nice looking and well conceived. But the problem is the problem in my view is it's just a little too big for this area, for this particular location, given its the adjacent single family, given the it's already a very busy thoroughfare, but most importantly, it's just a little, the massing is just a little too much, and I know you press the right button. 9 New Street is is the strongest point you have, that this really is effectively the same size. I wouldn't approve 9 New Street if there was nothing there right now. It's a very large building, but as I said, it's been there, to my knowledge, at least 50 years. and it was a different town in terms of the level of development at the time. I mean, Eastchester's a great town. It's kept its character better than many of the communities, the adjacent communities, and I feel that this board is charged with making sure that it does keep that character. And in this regard, I think your application just pushes a little too far outside of the envelope that I'm comfortable with, and it appears the other two members of the board who are here today are comfortable with. And as I told you, based on my discussions with Chairman Bonanno, that he's comfortable with.
Yeah, and just procedurally where we are, so we are still in the context of secret determining whether or not to make a secret determination. And our two options are to adopt a negative declaration, finding that there's no potential impacts or significant negative environmental effects, or if there is at least one, then we need to continue with the secret review. It's not an end of the application. In a way, it's just the beginning, where we can start the environmental review process to evaluate those impacts that we have determined to be moderate or significant in more detail.
And that determination of moderate or significant, that is a positive declaration?
Right, once you make a determination that the project has the potential to have at least one significant negative environmental impact, which here would be the visual impacts to the character of the community, given the height and design of the building vis-a-vis the single-family nature of a lot of the surrounding neighborhood.
Okay.
So it's not I just want to be clear that this is not a denial of the application. This is
Absolutely.
a consideration
Right.
in this one step in the secret process.
Correct. So under those circumstances, I think that this probably is the juncture at which I will move to ask the staff
Right.
To prepare a positive declaration under SECRA for application 23-30, 249 Main Street and 27 New Street, for consideration at our next meeting, which is December 5th, 2024. And it's for all of the reasons that have been discussed in our consideration of the Part 2 impact assessment.
I think you need to call a vote on that.
Yeah, so I make a motion to ask the staff to prepare a positive declaration.
Right. So this is not the positive declaration. What I'm being asked is to draft based on the discussion that we've had. We'll consider that at the next meeting.
I understand.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay. So we're done for the day, all right? And you can get in touch with Noel and
Yeah.
the planning department about next steps, okay?
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good night. Happy Thanksgiving, happy Halloween, go Yankees.
Okay.
All right, next we have application 23-32, 600 White Plains Road.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Munenib, representing Shaheen Badali on this application. Address 2 Wilson Place, Mount Vernon, New York, 10550. This application is to propose a gasoline canopy at the property known as 600 White Plains Road. The property is located in the R7-5 zone, which is a residential zone. It's an existing non-conforming use. We requested variances for the height of the canopy structure and the location, which were granted. The variances were granted back in March, I believe March 12th. Our last planning board meeting appearance was in April, where we were referred to the ARB. The ARB recently issued their conditional approval with some recommendations that were addressed and indicated on the plans, and we are seeking approval from the planning board since all the matters that were raised have been resolved, unless there's any additional comments from the board.
Okay, you appeared before the Architectural Review Board, right? And they recommended approval of the application subject to 4 recommendations, and I'll read those off. That the roof shingles on the canopy should match the roof shingles on the existing building.
Yes, sir.
Has that been done?
Yeah, we've indicated, yeah.
Perfect, yeah. As long as it's been done, that's fine.
Yep.
All right, the second was that the location of the fire suppression tanks should be shown on the plan.
Yep.
Are those
The
the
red,
red?
yeah, the red, yeah.
Okay, good. The connection of the leaders and gutters from the canopy to the existing drainage system should be shown on the plan.
It's on the cross section. I can flip the page.
Yeah, why don't you do that? Let me finish the last one, and then you can show me the leaders and
And just
gutters.
please take the microphone with you.
Yes,
Say what?
Just please take the microphone with you.
Yep.
When you go to the plan, take the microphone.
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
yeah,
Thanks.
like a rock star,
Yeah.
okay?
Understood.
And then the fourth one is that the applicant should provide the hours of operation for the pumps and pump lighting, okay?
Sure.
So show me the cross-section, you said, of the leaders and gutters.
Should probably go around the other way. So we have the gutters indicated in this location. It's probably- So yeah, so the gutters are on each side of the slope of the roof, and the leader grabs the water from there. There's a pipe, 2-inch conduit that goes into the central column, and then transfer it down to the ground floor, and then it just kind of goes into daylight. And then there's zero drains that have already been proposed from a previous application along the property, so the water just trickles down to the drain and into the.
Okay. Does the property slope a certain way?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I assume that the water is all collected at the lowest point?
Yep.
Or a lower point?
Towards they all slope towards the yard drains that are on the property.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay. So, what about the hours of operation?
Hours of operation are shown on the first heat, and it's 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Sunday.
All right, and the pump lighting, is that turned off at?
Same hours, yeah.
Okay,
Start open
got
to
it.
close, yeah.
Okay. This is much less controversial than our last application.
Yes,
but,
sir.
But I will ask if any my fellow board members have any questions?
I do not at this time.
I think I asked this last time, but just, am I right that they were going up to 19 feet from, or it's 25 feet from 19? I'm just a little confused on I guess,
Yeah, the height is 19 feet
Yep.
to the top of the canopy. And that was granted a variance.
Yes.
how much, is that taller than the existing one that was there? The
There's no existing structure.
Was there an existing canopy?
Yeah.
There was none?
No, there's no existing
Okay.
canopy structure. Yeah.
I guess my only thing would be like the lights pointing down, because there's some residences across the street, so if they're shining down on the pumps as opposed to,
Their lights are recessed into the
okay.
ceiling.
Yeah, I don't have, that was my only question.
All right, I don't have any other questions. I think, do we have a public hearing open? Yes, the notes reflect that a public hearing was opened at our April 25th, 2024 meeting. So with the hearing still open, I implore the vast audience here to come forward if you have any comment on this application. And seeing as Adamo does not appear to have any comment, and he's the only member of the audience here, I'm going to move to close the public hearing on application 23-32, 600 White Plains Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I make a motion to approve application 23-32, 600 White Plains Road, as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Done. Thank you. Good luck. I do occasionally get my gas there, so I will welcome the canopy. All right, application, our final application of the day, application 24-24, and today is 10/24, so, I mean, the 24s are wild. This is 27 Summit Street subdivision.
Good evening, Board. Adamo Majorano from Community Designs and Engineering. On behalf of the applicant, Liana Mayer, we are proposing a two-lot subdivision, as you stated, at 27 Summit Street. This project was before you back at the June meeting. Just to recap very quickly, to summarize the project, it's a two-lot subdivision. The existing property is 10,000 square feet in an R5 zoning district. There's an existing residence more towards the left side of the property. And on the right side of the property where we're subdividing and the new building parcel will be proposed, there's an existing detached garage and driveway that will be removed. And we'll introduce a new driveway for the existing residence that will remain as is, obviously other than the driveway, to maintain the zoning two-car off-street parking requirements. Although we did have to go to the zoning board after that meeting to get a zoning variance for the right side yard setback of the existing residence, because it was about like 5 inches too short on that one side. We need 9 feet, we're at 8.6 feet. So we did receive that zoning variance at the October meeting from the zoning board, and now we're back before you today. We did work out some general comments from our consulting engineer that was here before, Joe Tremelli, and everything was fine with that. Basically, we're capturing 100% of the stormwater mitigation of the proposed residence that will be proposed on the, technically vacant lot. And then also we are doing some drainage improvements to the existing residence because of the new driveway that's being introduced. As well as there was, so the last planning board meeting, there was a neighboring concern of an existing tree, a very large tree in the back of the existing residence. The owner did remove that tree actually this summer, so it no longer, imposes a risk of when they're building. If that tree, it wasn't really in the greatest condition, it was very close to the existing residence, so they were concerned about it themselves, so they just went and removed it, as well as one of the trees where the development will take place.
Okay, but understand, if and when you come back with a plan to build on, a new home,
that will.
I'm going to want to see some trees.
Yes,
Right?
yeah, that will have. Well,
yeah.
We'll have to have a separate landscape architect do
Yes.
development there, but obviously,
Yes, but that we're getting ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah, but no, to do some decent sized
But just
trees.
want to plant that seed, so
yes,
to speak.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because my own feeling is we take down too many trees and don't plant enough.
To replay, yep, exactly.
All right. Any questions from this board right now? All right. We have a public hearing that's been opened on this application. Seeing as you're the only person out there, Adamo, I will invite the public, in case someone's hiding under one of the chairs there, to come forward with any comments you might have on application 24-24. Not seeing or hearing any.
Don't close the public hearing yet.
Oh, okay.
So this is an unlisted action under SECRA because subdivisions don't fall within a type 2 classification.
So yes.
We did not do a coordinated review here because the only variance that was needed was a side yard setback. That is a type 2 action, so we have not made a SECRA determination. So we will have to do a SECRA determination before we close the public hearing. In your materials, I have taken the liberty of preparing the part 2 for this application with all, it's the same part 2 we just reviewed for the first application. Given the nature of this application, where the only disturbance proposed is just removing the driveway and garage and constructing the new driveway, I've checked note, and it's one new lot to be created. I've checked note of small impact on each one.
I would agree with that. Any disagreement from my fellow board members?
No.
All right. So then, under those circumstances, I make a motion to adopt a negative declaration for application 24-24, 27 Summit Street subdivision pursuant to SECRA, for the reasons stated in the environmental assessment form, and in particular Part 2, which we just went through, and are Part 1 and 3 out there somewhere?
Part 1 was prepared by the applicant and submitted with this, with the submission. Part 3 is where, if you identified any impacts as moderate to large, you would do a further analysis. But since we don't
So
have
that-
any, we don't
okay.
really have
So
anything
for the
in
reasons
Part 3.
stated in Parts 1 and 2.
1 and 2, yes.
Of the environmental assessment form. So I've made that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right, and any last request from the non-existent public? The public hearing still remains open, going once, going twice, going 3 times. I'm not having seen or heard from anyone. I now appropriately make a motion to close the public hearing on application 24-24, 27 Summit Street subdivision.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Spoke too soon.
All right, so it's one, the conditions will be 1, 2, 3 here?
The condition would just be 1, 2, 3. We had a typical condition that we have for subdivisions is that any remaining items from our consulting engineer be addressed, but we did get a memo from our consulting engineer that there are no remaining items on the subdivision aspect of the application, and the site plan comments are just for information when the applicant comes back with a site plan application at such time that they want to develop that other lot. So there are no comments to
right.
address, which is why that one was removed.
Okay, so I'll read all of this into the record, though. I make a motion to approve application 24-24, 27 Summit Street subdivision, subject to the following conditions. 1, prior to the chairman's signature on the plat, the garage on Lot B shall be removed, and proof of the same shall be provided to the planning department. The applicant shall obtain all required demolition or other permits prior to demolition of the garage. All right. Number 2, this approval does not grant site approval for the improvement of Lot B in this subdivision prior to the development or improvement of Lot B and prior to any additions to or alteration of the improvements on Lot A that require site plan approval form from
sorry,
the
typo.
town of Eastchester Planning Board shall be obtained or petitioned for. And number 3, the planning board finds that a recreation area cannot be properly located in the land included in the plat, but that the creation of one new building lot will increase the demand for recreation facilities in the town. Therefore, prior to the chairman's signature on the plat, the applicant shall pay the recreation fee for the creation of 2 new lots.
Sorry, don't mean to interrupt you, but that's a typo also. That should just be the one new lot.
One new
One
lot.
lot,
Okay,
yeah.
for the creation of 1 new lot as provided in the town of Eastchester zoning law, Section 9-H-2. So, subject to those conditions, I've now moved to approve application 24-24.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, you're good.
Thank you for your time again.
So, finally, I make a motion to adjourn the October 24 Planning Board meeting. The next meeting will be on December 5th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And again, go Yankees. All right, thanks.